Nicole, do you want to go ahead and start us off with roll call just to get that out of the way?
Wonderful. So you're calling the meeting to order at 5:03. And Leah,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Anna,
Here.
Susan,
Here.
Jared,
Here.
Nathan,
Here.
Jocelyn,
Here.
Simone,
Here.
Angela.
Here.
Works as a great sound check as well, roll call does. So everyone's mics are working. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. So we just wanted to start out tonight. I just wanted to say thank you just for everybody who attended the community meetings and the support for that and being attentive and taking the feedback from the community. Also, thank you to Nicole and Bob for such a quick turnaround on pulling and compiling everything together. So as a commission, we could really spend some time with it by ourselves. Especially Bob, thank you for your attention to a lot of the community questions that required your insight, and the commission just had to hand over to you. So thank you so much just for doing such a concise, professional job answering those questions from the community. So tonight, what we're going to do is turn it over to Bob to talk us through an east-west split example. That was one of the headier topics heard from the community. So giving the commission an opportunity to hear you speak about what that looks like on a map, also the impact with something like that on the other districts, just for even distribution. We'll then have time for questions and answers with Bob. And then following that time with questions and answers, I think it's appropriate at this meeting, given our timeline that we're working with, for me to call for a motion at the end of question and answers. So if there is someone, after we've gone through our discussion, all questions and answers, I'll call for a motion. If someone does want to put one forward, we can go from there.
And I wanted to just call one quick update, Leah, that I did update the commissioners who attended the District 1 meeting. So that is updated online, but I didn't resend it out because it was just a couple names. But if you do look online, it has been updated. So thank you everyone for reaching out to make sure all of that information got in there correctly.
Yes, thank you. And that was another thing to say thank you for, is just as a commission, the attentiveness to questions as they were coming in, feedback it was coming in, and also as it was all being compiled, anything that was missed. I think there was a lot of people sending a lot of feedback to Nicole. So it was just an engaged group, even if it was via email. So thank you so much for that. So without further ado, dearest Bob, take it away.
Page 17 too. I did get 2 emails about the questions on page 2 of the agenda, and that is on the answers to that follow public comment. So page 17, if you did not see the answers to Bob to the questions, they are there. So take a look if you have not. I think all of you probably have, but just want to make sure.
Hi guys. So here is an east-west split using Broadway. I simply went with the whole idea of taking that ask as literal as possible using Broadway, although Broadway doesn't go north to the water. So I just used, continued along the highway. Broadway does some weird things, then we get to I-5 in this area. I had no idea where this was going to go or not going to go. So I just threw it together and started working my way from the north down, trying to pick up as many whole precincts as possible, but using Broadway as the guiding light. And of course, we ended up with some splits down in this area here. So as I was doing this up and looking at the population numbers, I just decided while I was doing this to also give you option number 2, which is looking into this area here where we have a few splits, as opposed to just telling you that they're split and that we can unsplit them. I decided to look detailed at where the split is, and then what would the ramifications be if we were to unsplit it. Well, following the very passionate cry for using the Broadway as a split, to just ease over towards where the ends of these precinct boundary lines are. So we follow our basic guidelines of minimal splits where possible. We ended up with some numbers that actually looked even better when it came to the numbers between the first and the second. So I'm very much leaning towards the whole idea of this plan, option B for the Broadway split here. That would mean revising some of the maps that I sent, which is no big deal. But it seemed like the optimal time to let you know what it would be like to have this split and also unsplit at the same time. Any overall questions with this this idea?
Go ahead, Angela. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes. I've been wondering that we focus so much on not splitting precincts, but what about neighborhoods? Isn't it more important to keep neighborhoods together rather than precincts?
Well, in this particular example, the going up north and south on Broadway, that's, that is a suggestion that is trumping the neighborhoods, because the neighborhood lines are east and west. And if we're taking and making a line that's going north and south, sure, it's going to split the neighborhood that's here and the neighborhood in this area as well, and to a degree somewhat of this area, but we already had, I think, that split previously. So the idea of following Broadway trumps the not splitting of neighborhoods in the scheme of creating this plan. So that was the logic behind the use of Broadway and the non-use of neighborhoods when coming up with this line through here.
Thank you for that question, Angela. Thank you for your response, Bob. Simone, go ahead.
I was just going to add on that the neighborhoods versus precincts thing. So with the neighborhoods, it's really up to us if we want to split those. It's something I think we were aiming to not do as much as possible. When it goes down to splitting precincts, it gets a little bit more complicated, since those are kind of like, other than census blocks, those are kind of like our smallest building blocks of our community. So splitting them just has kind of some further ramifications that we talked about a lot last time. We haven't talked about it as much this time, but it's something for us to consider if it's really something we want to do. But I would say something we'd want to be kind of cautious about, since it does, unlike if this was the state or the county, if we split a precinct, it's not going to be fixed down the road for us where that won't actually be split. It'll just be one half of your block is voting for whoever is going to be representing District 1, and the other half of your block is going to be for District 2. So, just it can create some confusion, I feel like.
Angela, is your hand still up, or did you have an additional
Oh,
comment?
no, I'm sorry. I'm still on my phone, so I've got to figure out how to put it down.
I can
Okay,
lower it for
okay,
you.
there we go. There, got it.
So what's the basic thought of the non-splitting of the two precincts in the, basically the second plan, Plan B? Let's get to that. That would be this area here. It basically follows Broadway, which is this line right through here and then down to here. So it's only deviating slightly from Broadway to make those two precincts whole, but it does do a lot for our population figures, which is this right here. So we're definitely below 500 people per each one of our commission districts, which is slightly better than the original straight up and down along Broadway till the I-5 interchange. So yeah, in that case, it was negative 532 and a positive 488. And unsplitting them gets us a 382 to a negative 426. So we're really strongly at 2% for our deviations.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I was just curious, is there any concern if on the unsplit population breakdown by race about the large reduction in Asian American or Asian population, and then in Pacific Islander as well, where we're moving from I think about 1,100 or so, and we're dropping that all the way down below 1,000 in that particular set of maps. Could that open the city up to an accusation of some kind for packing, even though we're not intending to do so because of that low population in that particular district?
They're not a very strong minority in either the first or the second in the first place. The only thing we're potentially doing is making the first district stronger in that at the expense of the second. But overall, realistically, the intent and drive of this particular plan is to follow Broadway, and then the plan B is simply to make sure that we're not splitting a couple of precincts. So we're not packing, we're not removing the ability for a minority candidate of, say, the Asian community for potentially not running in the second district. The number changes is minimal.
Thank you.
That was a great question. I didn't catch that when I was reviewing the material. So thank you for noticing that, Nathan.
Ed Scott.
Thanks. One thought I have is that I wonder if that area east of Broadway, but if we were to go on this proposed 2 or A or B, if this area east of Broadway, but west of the railroad tracks there identifies more with Port Gardner and their neighbors just across Broadway. I don't think there are a lot of people there. Probably the biggest group of people living there is at that Hope Works or Housing Hope site, right? In that whole area, because it's mostly industrial. But I wonder if they identify more with that. So I wonder if it might be better to keep the option that Bob shows on the screen here, where until you get to I-5, you would follow the railroad tracks if you went with one of these 2 options.
Yeah, I agree that this area here is definitely much more connected to the west side of Broadway than it is in any way to the east side of the railroad tracks, since there is very few convenient crossings there other than this area right in here.
And that area you just rode the cursor over, I think, is much more closely identified with Lowell, I think would be my guess in that. But again, Gospel Mission probably would be the biggest, though there are some residences south of that, but not all that many.
That is one of the advantages of using whole precincts, is they generally do follow the area.
ahead, Susan.
Thank you. And I'm not sure, I just have a question that popped in my mind is, where does the current District 2 council member reside?
Both are still within their districts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. That was one of my questions that I jotted down. Thanks. Great question.
Yeah, we are lucky in the sense that you have a commissioner on the east and west side of Broadway, and they're still in their appropriately numbered district. Oh, and the area that's way out here off to the east, I think it's your watershed. That's still part of Commission District number 1 at 0 population. We could certainly also have the highway being the boundary line all the way to the city limits. This area out here has 0 population in it. If we wanted to just simply use the descriptor of Broadway and the highway out to the city limits.
Can you, Bob, please walk us through the, like your opinion on the shapes of each district, and what you think in this map that we're looking at may pose an issue or may not?
Well, this area out here, these are all, the lowlands, the floodplains, minimal population, minimal, minimal concern. The fact that we have this area here in the first, doesn't detract much from the overall shape of the district. This population is the primary area population, followed by a secondary area population, and then a bit less in this area here. It's not bad in shape or lay, in the sense that it is still an all connected, relatively easy to traverse commission district. Would definitely be your longest commission district. A second is certainly a very compact district in the sense that it's this road here followed by Broadway, well, I-5, Broadway, the highway up to the water. Very simple in shape. It's a straightforward district. It's not that unlike, say, the 5th district. The first and the 5th are relatively, simple and, similar in shape, in that the 5th has this area population followed by the secondary area population that's only divided through this area here.
And does this split, it's a little zoomed out, but this doesn't split Lowell, does it? The neighborhood? It doesn't go. It stays on that end of it, doesn't it?
Don't recall Lowell off the top of my head.
Scott might be the resident expert that we have.
I don't think it's split. I don't think it splits Lowell. No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's up north.
Okay. Oh, here's Lowell.
And does that split right there, is the yellow District 1?
Correct.
Is it possible, and I know I'm gonna go lofty here, I love this map where you have it split north to south. Is it possible to dig into where we are, right, what it looks like next to it, where it is currently, so I can visually see that? Or is that asking a lot to dig right now and put them together?
Nope.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I think that would be helpful for next steps for discussion for sure.
So these green lines right here, let me turn off the precincts real quick.
Thank you.
So this green line coming across here, this is where the current boundary is on the first proposal. Actually, let's see which one I turned on. So our plan number 1, that is this boundary here. And the only change that we had previously was a little bit of a movement here from your 2020. And then the third district doesn't change. This is where we deviate from the existing line up and over. Does that make sense? There is 0 change to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts with this plan. So this is your old 2nd right here. And then this is your old 1st.
And then with the north to south split, it moves a little bit of the 1 and 2. Is that what I'm seeing with that split down Broadway, or am I not
Yeah.
seeing that correct? Okay, so
Yeah,
for
that's-
instance,
That's this part right
okay.
here.
And so I believe I am in that new Overlook neighborhood on the east side of Broadway off of 41st. And that moves me out of number 2 and into number 1. Am I seeing that correctly?
You're 41st and Broadway.
We're east of Broadway, yes.
Well, here's
And I'm-
41st.
So that's putting us,
So this is Broadway here.
yep,
This is 41st. This is I-5. And the unsplitting of the 2 precincts here, this area remains in the 2nd. Now, if the original plan had was sticking true to the intent of following Broadway as much as possible, which was to add this area into the 1st. So, and in that case, anything east of Broadway, north of 41st, west of the interstate would be moved into the 1st district. But at a cost of a greater deviation than including this into the 2nd district, which is why I was leaning more towards wanting to deviate slightly from Broadway, including this area. And oops, hit the wrong button. And we're only talking about 106 people in this spot, by the way.
that I'm asking about.
Correct.
You currently have 106. but there are 800 new residences. Well, there's 311 new homes and 400 new townhomes and a whole bunch going in, which we aren't supposed to even count, but I just know it makes that piece makes me a little nervous for all of you, that switching all of these people into District 1 could shift a few things, which, hey, we all like a little shakeup around the city of Everett, right? So it puts a lot of us in District 1 that weren't there. And it's fine. I just wanted to know where I would be moving.
Well, it looks like you'd be staying in District number 2 if we went with the plan B of the second plan.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
I'm
think-
over, I don't think I would. I'm over here.
So I think just for clarification, Bob and the commission moving forward, I think I would like to, so now we have 2 options for map. And so let's call the first option that we presented to the community, let's refer to that as option A. What's being presented right now with this east-west split as requested by the community feedback that Bob's presenting now, this is option B. So Bob, can you say what you just said again in regards to option A in this area will be this, option B will be this, just for total clarification?
Sure. Option A has a lesser this is the deviations, and it is a bit more skewed with option A versus option B, with the splitting of those 2 precincts. So we've got nearly 2.5% deviation at 532 to 488. If we were to go with option B, we only have a deviation of 382 and a negative 426. And we're down right at the 2%. So it's about a 0.5% bump in deviation, having this area in option B, unsplitting these 2 precincts.
Go ahead, Scott.
I need to clarify. So Lee, I thought you were saying option A was what we presented to the community, the first plan that Bob drafted. And here it sounded like Bob was talking about option A being the second plan he drafted with Broadway splitting it, and option, and him talking about option B being the second plan drafted with the railroad tracks actually being the dividing line.
I have not talked at all about plan number 1, which was the first plan that I submitted.
Okay. So Lee, what were you referring to? Lee, what were you referring to as option A?
So option A is what we presented to the community. What's in like in option B is what we're discussing here. And I think that that's what's causing some of the confusion is some people like, and what Jocelyn was asking is in regards to the shift.
Yeah, the shift between where she was in the map
Yeah.
we presented to the community versus where she is in the
Versus this one.
east-west split. And then our option B has like B.2 because there's the precincts together and precincts split.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that is, yeah, there's definitely, I think, a little bit of communication error, confusion between all of us, I think, at this time.
Yeah, which is why I was trying to straighten that out. Like, let's refer to versions of the map. I think that helps just keep everybody on the same page. Go ahead, Simone.
I was just gonna say the answer is she'd be in District 2. District 2 in the map that we showed the community. That's it.
Susan, do you have a question?
Or more of a comment, either let's call these A, B, and C, or else let's take what we're calling B, and maybe if we're going to seriously consider, narrow it down to either split or unsplit, so that we quit this, which B are we talking about? I'm fine either way, but it is a little confusing.
No, absolutely. And I think we're starting to cross that threshold. My other question, Bob, and I mean, and this really is, so I'm just speaking about just B that was presented and just A that we demonstrated to the community. So we had feedback from a community member. There was a shift on option A between District 2 and District 5. It kept a neighborhood that very much so wanted to be together. It kept them together on the map that was presented with option A. And I can't see it here. With option B, does that shift still happen or no?
There is no change to the 5th district.
Okay.
So 3rd, 4th, and 5th are unchanged in the from the first plan that I submitted.
Okay. I read it that way too, and I thought that's what I was seeing. I just wanted to be sure. Scott.
Thanks. So are you asking us, Leah, now, if we looked at option B, would we prefer B1 or B2? Are you asking us for our sentiments on that, or is that where we're at? Sorry.
I was actually giving a thoughtful pause. I think that that's important in time like these. I haven't asked for a motion or asked for a specific recommendation. I'm giving everybody a moment just to let it sink in. And then I do think that from my perspective, the next step would be, we do have option A, and then now we're kind of trickling down rabbit holes in option B. So what I would like to say is actually if there's a motion in regards to keeping precincts together, I think that that's actually a useful place to start as a commission. If we are keeping precincts together and not splitting them. That way we can have a further discussion about Plan B if we want to continue down that rabbit hole. Not rabbit hole, it's an option.
I move for us to stick with not separating precincts and keeping all our precincts intact.
Second.
Thank you, Simone. And I heard a second. Susan. All in favor? Thank you, Susan, for seconding that. All in favor?
Unless someone wanted to do discussion.
Oh, sorry, discussion.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had one quick question. I can't tell from the map that area, Bob, north of 41st, east of the freeway. North 40, east of the freeway. Keep going north there, north 41st. What air, that little triangle? Nope. Go down east of the freeway, right there. Which precinct is that in? Everett 31. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so the motion is in regards to keeping precincts intact. I heard a second. All in favor?
Keep your hands up because I have to scroll. So if you're in favor of keeping precincts together, please leave your hand up. Your motion passes.
Thank you, Nicole.
And then do you want to call for all opposed?
Oh, all opposed.
I think I'm abstaining. I'm neutral on this question. Thank you.
I've got it documented. Thank you for pausing for me.
Go ahead, Angela.
I'd like to make another motion so that we quit talking about two options. So I'd like to make a motion that we consider option B and forget about option A. And then we can discuss fine tuning B.
So that would mean that if you made that motion, I think this is a little bit of a communication error, that would remove the map that you presented from the community and only bring discussion on the east-west split map. What you just did was remove one of the options that was east-west split. Now you are comparing your east-west split map that does not split precincts to the map that you presented to the community. So now there are two options that you are comparing.
Well, if we keep going back and forth on two maps, I mean, it's going to be two different discussions. I don't know if people still want the old map, you know, the option A, or if they want to start working on option B.
I mean, there's a motion on the floor, so I think now the question is if there's going to be a second.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. So is anyone seconding this motion?
Okay, bad motion. I withdraw.
And maybe it's just too soon. Maybe it's just too soon.
Okay.
Okay, so we are discussing with precincts intact, which would mean some fine tuning with option B, I'm hearing and hopefully seeing. Toddler took my glasses, y'all. Scott, I saw your hand first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think to clarify, or as I think Nicole basically did. So to Sylvia's point, we actually did do the fine tuning right in that motion. We decided we weren't going to split the precincts. And so we do have an option B now that we would compare to our option A. Is that your understanding too, Leah?
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I need to know now.
Thank you.
Then I'm real lost and I didn't think I was. Go ahead, Susan.
I guess where I am is, what are the downsides of B? I mean, what I see some pros in answering the concerns that were raised in our public meeting, but I don't know if I fully understand, is there a downside? Is there something we should be cautious of? And that's maybe the discussion I'd like to have. What are the pros and cons of this?
Thank you, Susan. Bob, do you have any initial feedback, anything that jumps out at you as far as comparing the two, keeping precincts intact?
Well, your old districts that you made in 2020 are a whopping 2 years old. They're very new. You don't have much experience with them in the first place. It's quite a bit more change to do the Broadway split in comparison, but you know, if that's what the community wants, there's no reason not to give what the community would like. So there's number of wise, as long as we're okay with the look and feel of this, it works. The only thing with this is I would need to replace all of the maps with the non-split, as you guys just voted on. But yeah, I'm very comfortable with the non-split approach to the basic Broadway split here.
Thank you, Bob. Go ahead, Simone.
I think one of the things we saw a lot in the feedback we received was just a desire of members of the community to not have Delta and Northwest be part of the same district. And I think a lot of it based around the idea that Delta would not be able to hang with a Northwest person if they ran against each other, which we've seen is not entirely accurate, at least as of right now. And just the idea that in terms of voter turnout, that it would be inequitable where Northwest would just run away with it every time. But from the data we've seen, I know our district master last time showed us some. I think we received some this time, but the turnout difference is not that significant whether we have Delta with Northwest or we do a Delta split along Broadway district. Also, the idea of future growth, I think that's kind of a challenging one to address since we can't really take it into account this time. We're actually not even supposed to. It was really just for that first time because we didn't have new census data. And so like really thinking about what we're being tasked to do and really sticking to that, I think it really makes it simple that doing a big change like this after only having kept this map for less than 2 years, I think it's just too much. I think it's something for the districting commission in 10 years to consider if just Northwest just goes absolutely wild and just wins every time. And it just, you know, I mean, it's something to consider in the future, but I think at this point, I don't think that there's enough data. I think it's mostly just kind of this opinion of this adversarial Northwest versus Delta. And I don't think it needs to be that way. And I don't think that ultimately it's really the like one Everett experience that we're all trying to have. I don't think it, you know, I think a split down Broadway just seems dramatic, quite honestly. It seems like it's just, I don't think it's necessary at this point.
Thank you for that perspective, Simone, and those comments.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Thanks, Lee. I want to support those.
Oh, you went on mute, Scott.
Of course, I probably should always be on mute. I want to support.
No way. Go ahead,
I want to
Scott.
support those comments as well. You know, Bob, the map you're showing us, I think if you took away the precinct boundaries, so a couple of comments about this. If you remove the precinct boundary layer there, I think it gives us kind of more uncluttered look at it. And maybe even the neighborhood boundaries, if we could. Thanks. So first of all, I think, you know, the squint test to me, you know, maybe this isn't gerrymandering, but I think someone coming in completely from the outside would go, wow, that's really a kind of a weird district, really big in the south and really big in the north, and then a relatively narrow connection in the middle, which kind of matches population as well in that middle area. So anyway, we're a little worried about that. I want to note that while we heard plenty from several residents of Delta about their unhappiness with present District 1, I don't believe we heard any unhappiness with the present district configuration from residents of Riverside, Valley View, Pinehurst, and any of those neighborhoods. And if my count is right, only one concerned comment from residents of Glacier View and Lowell. And again, I would interestingly point out that interestingly, as far, at least by my count, we heard no unhappiness with our original proposal with present configuration of District 1 from Riverside, which is immediately to the south of Delta and shares you know, the east of Broadway situation with Delta as well. I'd also ask, is there enough commonality of interest in these districts, especially new District 1? You know, folks in the north part of 1 and 2 are probably more concerned, excuse me, folks in both Delta, Riverside, and Northwest are probably more concerned about traffic on North Broadway. Those in Pinehurst are probably more concerned about traffic on Everett Mallway and Evergreen. Those in the north might be more concerned about empty storefronts in downtown. Those in Pinehurst and Valley View are probably more concerned about empty storefronts at Everett Mall. Those in North Everett, Northwest, Delta, Riverside probably share the commonality of concerns about Providence and Everett Community College, whereas those in Pinehurst and Valley View probably don't have really any concerns about that. In terms of park Delta has 2 neighborhood parks, Pinehurst has none. The community of interest there, I just don't really see it. Furthermore, at each session I went to, I heard comments about the people of the river. Yet this proposal would have parts of the new District 1 with residents further from the river than most of those who live in Northwest Everett. So whatever that means. And back when the districting proposals were first put forth way back, 2, 3, 4 years ago, there was concern about overrepresentation north of 41st. Yet, if we have 2 districts under the B proposal, north-south, we could actually end up with 2 council members north of downtown from these districts. So that would even heighten that concern even more. Finally, or next to last, and kind of echoing, I think, what Simone said, based on the concerns raised about those who are unhappy about the original proposed map, with District 1 being Northwest, Riverside, and Delta, I'm not sure what a redistricting would do. Taking at face value the statements about inequities, at bottom, the districting process about where someone who gets elected to the council is from. In regards to this, it's hard to imagine what else could be done. The map we currently have actually was spectacularly successful for residents of the area where most of the public comments came from. They actually elected someone from Delta over someone from Northwest to the city council. Districting itself doesn't reallocate city resources or city attention. It can't do that. Instead, it's designed to get a person elected from that area to theoretically give more attention to the area. It's hard to imagine what more districting could actually achieve. Finally, if we were to move forward with the proposal of north-south districts, I would suggest we absolutely need to go back to the neighborhood group meetings, especially for Pinehurst and Valley View, and maybe Lowell, to ask whether or not they'd prefer to be grouped with neighborhoods north of 41st. We never heard anything from those districts that they were unsatisfied with from people in those areas, in Pinehurst and Valley View. So I absolutely think we would have to go back and ask them for their input on this if we want to move this map forward. Thank you.
Scott, thank you for comprehensive comments. As always, Scott, with the comprehensive comments and well thought out. And so that was actually going to be a question that I had for you, Nicole, as we are talking about the potential for 2 options. Like, can we go back to the communities that, because this impacts sorry, my toddler also has commentary. Do we go back to the neighborhoods? Because I don't feel right about it. Like, it just doesn't sit well with me. If we did, as a commission, just hypothetically, if we did decide to go with this drastic of a change, it doesn't sit well with me to not provide an opportunity for the community to have additional comments, because this does impact a great deal more of people than option A. Nicole?
So yes, we absolutely can do that. Please just keep in mind, we are on a timeline. So
Exactly.
however you want to use your resources, we'll just have to move quickly. Traditionally and currently, the neighborhoods in the north of Everett are more active and engaged than neighborhoods in the south of Everett. And so it is really typical that Northwest, Delta, Riverside would be communities that would show up to comment on things if they felt passionately about them, whereas neighborhoods in the south are they're less organized and formal at this time in interacting with the city. So I think, to Scott's point, going to the neighborhood groups that exist and asking them what they think is probably the only and most direct way that I can think of to get that feedback. But just for your context, like what comes to my mind is a lot of people constantly say, north of 41st and south of 41st are 2 different communities. And I'd say that feedback is I've received since I've worked at the city overwhelmingly from the entire community is, how do you engage south of 41st? Because north of 41st is actually very well organized and with a lot of participants and people that vote and engage and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean there's not things in common. It just means that's what we have heard. That might have been too much information, but I think I did answer the question in there.
No, you did. Thank you. So it's, yes, we can totally do that. And also as a commission, we have to recognize our timeline to get this accomplished and the resources that have been expended to us to be able to accomplish this task. Go ahead, Simone.
I think ultimately I don't think we'll get anything like that will drastically change our minds if we were to take something back to the community about this. I just think that at this point, it's going to stir up so much more, it's going to stir up so much more stuff to try and make such a big change at this stage of the game. Again, after only having this map for 2 years. And after hearing most of these concerns, and as Scott said, a lot of these things are not things that districting is going to fix. Having one city council member that is from your neighborhood is not going to be a silver bullet to change all funding and, you know, solve every issue that a neighborhood's having. You know, at the end of the day, the point is that we are getting more local representation for people in our neighborhoods. So thinking of more local representation, that new District 2 is just, it's just so elongated. Someone who lives at the top of District 2 getting down to the bottom of District 2, it's like 7 miles. We don't have any other districts that are quite that long. Like, that's pretty dang significant. And, you know, on top of it, as we've seen from the data, this split actually makes District 2, makes Delta's district less diverse. You're moving 1,000 people that identify as Hispanic and Latino and Asian into District 1, making District 1 more diverse, which isn't a problem, but it's not accomplishing the things that we're hearing this feedback. This is not going to accomplish those things. And honestly, there isn't a whole lot that districting can do to solve some of the things that we've gotten in the comments. So I think, you know, really focusing in on what we're tasked to do and what districting is and what it isn't, I think it really just leads to the conclusion that the option A that we have on the table is really our best one for now. And like I said before, in 10 years, the new commission will come together with the 2030 census data, which seems insane. And, you know, if folks have major concerns with how resources are being allocated, a better use of time would probably be getting behind that 2030 census effort and making sure that all the people that didn't get counted this time get counted next time. I mean, that can make a big difference. But ultimately what we're doing here, it's not gonna be the silver bullet, you know, it's not. So yeah.
Thank you for those comments, Simone. Bob, what I would actually suggest that we do, can we pull up option A? Let's pull back up the map that we presented to the community. I think we've heard a lot of discussion on option B, what that looks like, and then further comments in regards to our first map.
Here we go.
So one of the things that did stand out to me about community comments is the fine tuning of this map. So taking the previous commission's work, fine tuning a bit, the neighborhoods that were impacted, we did have community feedback that they appreciated the fine tuning that was done and it solved problems on their block. One interesting comment that I heard a couple of different times, kind of as an aside, it wasn't something as an official comment, is that this map breaks up neighborhoods in 15 different ways. And I would caution against that kind of language. And we haven't said that as a commission, and it certainly doesn't do that. And so I appreciated tonight that as a commission, we clarified that, you know, we do the best we can to keep neighborhoods intact that identify as neighborhoods and have that strong cohesion. I think that option A does that really well. And also as a commission, we've decided we're not splitting up precincts. We're just not doing that. That has other implications and can cause different types of problems. And again, the feedback from the community in regards to some of the shifts that impact exactly where they live on their block was positive feedback in regards to this map. And I don't want that to go overlooked because I think that that's important. Simone?
I don't want to jump the gun, but I move to approve map version A as our final map.
Second
what-
that motion.
Heard a second, but you didn't jump on my screen. Who seconded it?
Jocelyn Severs Bailey.
Thank you, Jocelyn Severs Bailey. Further discussion? All right, all in favor of map A? Nicole, I'll wait for you.
Unanimous.
Go ahead, Jocelyn.
I just want to thank you, Bob, for presenting the north-south split of Broadway. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate you listening to our requests and doing that for us. So thank you so much.
Well,
Absolutely.
it should be helpful for any future discussion on that to see how that is that potentially evolves over time. So
Yeah.
you'll have the information for future use.
Exactly. And I think that that's something that I always think about with census data. It's a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time. And the discussion tonight sets up. I mean, if there are other options on the table as things shift, 2030, yes, that is weird to say, but it's only 8 years away. Oh my gosh. And we're almost in 2023. So maybe we don't talk about that necessarily. You know, but it sets up for further discussion in the future. So thank you for such a robust discussion as a commission on potential options. Simone, I see your hand raised.
All I was going to add was that I thought it was really interesting. Bob, your version of the split map actually was a little different than the split map we looked at last time. I think just because population changed so much in between and where that population change happened. So it'll be really interesting to see in 10 years, like what an east-west Broadway split could even look like, because it might not be as elongated as some of these areas start to grow. So it's just, you know, it'll be interesting to see.
For sure. Thank you so much, Bob and fellow commissioners. I skipped a step. I was supposed to adopt minutes, just to circle back.
Motion to adopt as amended on the web, because I think Nicole made some changes.
She did.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Second by Scott, and if you just raise your hands.
All in favor of approving the minutes? Thank you. Sure. All right. So Nicole, next steps from here.
Bob is gonna send me the final map. I'm gonna get it on a city council agenda. And it will go to city council. It has to be approved with no amendments. They have to accept it as is. And we will also publish. So, Bob, if you can send me something that's kind of pretty, and then also the one that would be broken down for our planning department and the county. Basically, our planning department is going to double check Bob's work, make sure that there's no issues from a city perspective, and they've been following this process. And I think that, you know, they absolutely would have said something on a document already if there were an issue. They give it a thumbs up, city council approves it, and then the county will go through and adopt or I think that they assign the precincts to a district so everybody gets the correct ballot. And that's it. So I'll send all of you an email for the date that it goes to city council, and any updates as they come. I'll also send you any pretty, like the maps that are a little bit more high level, like that A9 map, so you have it. Thank you all so much for doing this and signing up to be on the commission. It's so much work. 7 community meetings is a lot. A year of meetings talking about math is a lot. And I feel like you guys are such a great group, and I hope I get to see you all on other boards and commissions and around the community, because I've really gotten, I really enjoyed getting to know a small piece of all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, Nicole, in getting this accomplished. And as a commission, good job getting this done on time.
Yeah.
On time and with a very reasonable budget. So you guys are very all around applause.
Thank you. Simone, did you have your hand raised or are you clapping?
I was just clapping.
Oh, great. I love it. All right.
With that, I believe you can
We
officially
have a
adjourn.
motion. Yeah, officially adjourn.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.